Welcome to Kid Missing TV. I am your host, Angelina Wilson. This is the Montgomery County Jane Doe. Her remains were found on the 9th day of February, 1974. She has been unidentified for 50 years. Actually, 50 and 1/2 years. She was female, and she was found specifically in Lower Providence Township, Pennsylvania, in Montgomery County. She was between the ages of 60 and 75. Says she was black, but her reconstruction is with white features, which I don't understand. 5'5" to 5'10". She was skeletal. So how do they know she weighed about 170 pounds? She had been dead for about 3 months. She had been, let me dance with YouTube. Unalived by means of removing the airflow via her neck. If you get my drift. Oh, okay. She had been believed to be white, but in 2022, her body was re-examined, her remains, and it turned out she was black. Her upper jaw was what they referred to as edentulous. It means she had no teeth. She had a heavy-set build, severe arthritis in both knees and spine. Therefore, she would have had a slouched or a hunched back posture. She had a fractured lower left arm. Now, that seems to say to me at least that it was broken. It was still broken or had been broken at the time of death. They're not specific about it, but since they say fractured and not an old fracture, then she had a broken arm at the time of death. Whether it was starting to heal or not, we don't know, or it was broken when she was killed. She had an orange smock or housecoat with a light floral design. Now, housecoat's kind of old-fashioned. It's what my father used to call a bathrobe. Given his age, he would be 80. That's not unusual. People in that age group do refer to them as a housecoat. She also was wearing a corset. Why would you be wearing a corset under a bathrobe? Anyway, a bra, a girdle, stockings, hand-crocheted purple slippers, inside a plastic bag labeled Marvel-Enriched Bread, and a safety pin. Okay, what? Okay, so yeah, her belongings don't make a lot of sense. Oh, okay, she was also wearing a light-colored knit dress. So I'm wondering if it was an orange smock type thing with a floral design rather than a house coat or bathrobe as we know it. Because she was wearing a light-colored knit dress, a corset, a bra, a girdle, stockings, which means nylons. And she had with her, I'm going to assume, because they were inside a plastic bag, hand-crocheted purple slippers in a bag labeled Marvel-Enriched Bread. And she had a safety pin. This sounds like somebody was going out on the town. But unless the It seems to me the slippers were present, either to her or from her to someone. And that's why they were in the bread bag. Now, see, another estimation of her height says 5'2". So is she 5'2", or, as the other site says, was she 5'5" to 5'10"? Because 5'10", 170 pounds would not be heavy. They don't know her hair and eye color, obviously. Again, arthritis of back and knees. They're saying obesity. I don't know how they would know that if she was skeletal, but acute fractures, plural, to the left lower arm, which probably means that both bones, the ulna and the radius, were fractured. I'm sorry if I pointed to them. Okay. They do not have dentals available because they did not find her mandible, which is the lower jaw. It's the hinged jaw. The maxilla is the fixed jaw that's part of the skull. And that was edentulous, meaning it didn't have any teeth in it, which means she probably wore dentures. They don't have fingerprints because she was a skeleton. And skeletons don't generally have fingerprints. And they don't know whether there's DNA. The dress is described as knit. And in the pocket of the smock was a safety pin. I'm thinking the smock was like maybe a scrub jacket type thing. I haven't seen any reconstructions of the clothing, so. She was found in what's called the Skip Pack Creek bed near Old Baptist Road and Fern Avenue. She would not have been able to raise her arms above here because of her back. Several neck bones were broken. Okay, her right lower arm was broken in 2 to 3 places as a result of a blow from a heavy object. And several neck bones were broken, indicating, again, an object used to stop the airflow, thus killing her. Her left foot had been skillfully, that's the key word here, cut off and found inside a plastic bag labeled Marvel Enriched Bread. The right foot was not found. Wait a minute. The slippers in her foot were found in the same bag? Is that what they're saying? They thought she had been hit and run, but when the anthropologist looked at her body, no, she had been unalived by another human being by way of something around her neck stopping airflow. Yeah. The Pennsylvania State Police Trooper Brad Furlong is in charge of the case. You can call him at 717-671-7500. That's 717-671-7500. Or the Montgomery County Coroner's Office, Alexander Balaki, medico-legal death investigator at 610-278-3057. That's 610-278-3057. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff here that just... So inside the... It wasn't just slippers inside the bread bag. It was her foot. Was her foot in the slipper? At least one of them? Or were they two separate bags? They're not real clear about this. Wish they were more clear about it, but unfortunately, they're not. Which is frustrating. At least they're more clear about the arm. The arm was broken at the time of her death, it sounds like. Like she tried to protect herself. I would call it a defensive wound, although they say she couldn't really lift her arms as far as her face, but I guess she could lift it to here with a little bit of pain. I can't lift mine much beyond here without pain, but that's my shoulders. So maybe she brought her arm up here to protect her neck and got hit. And why did the person remove her feet and not her hands? I'm wondering if she had tattoos on her feet, or at least on the foot that wasn't recovered. Because they didn't talk about any distinguishing marks on the foot they found. So I'm wondering if the one that they didn't recover had a distinguishing mark of some sort, scar, mole, birthmark, whatever, or if it had a tattoo. Which would be a pretty old tattoo probably at that age. If she is in fact 60 to 75 years of age. And that was 50 years ago. So that would make her between 110 and 125 years old. So she would have been born, let's see, if she was 60 in 1974, 50 years ago, she would have been born 60 years before that. So about 1924-ish. So 15 years before that. So between 1905 and 1920-ish. 1905-ish to 1920-ish. Would be when she was born. So if they do the familial DNA, the forensic genealogical DNA, they're likely to get great-grandchildren, possibly grandchildren, depending on the situation, because my grandfather was born in 1900 and I'm still here. I'm only 50. So, but because of, the ages at which people had children, like my grandfather didn't have his children till he was in his 40s. So my father was 30 when I was born. So depending on the situation there, could be her grandchildren or great-grandchildren, even great-great-grandchildren at her age are possible. Think about it. I could be a grandmother. If I had a child at 20, they would be 30. Could have a 10-year-old grandchild easily, if not a teenager, depending on when my kid had a kid. So it's more than possible. In fact, if their grandchildren are older than me, like my cousins, their kids are well grown, which I would be also. Trying to think. No. Well, my cousin Lisa has great grandchildren, I believe. Hold on. No, she has grandchildren. Sorry. But I have cousins even older than that who do have great grandchildren. So it just depends on the age of the people, but they could definitely get close enough to identify this person. Excuse me. So that's kind of my point on that, is they could get a close enough relative match, even at her age, to identify her. Excuse me. I would love to see the full anthropologist report and all the little details, because those things are fun. Now, they originally thought she was white, then they said, no, she's black. Could she be half and half? Could we be looking for someone, when I was growing up, someone who was half black and half white was called mulatto. I don't think they use that term anymore, but it's the term I know. It's not racist or anything. It's just a descriptor of someone who's half and half. But I guess they've kind of, cancel cultured the word. But I'm wondering if that's the case here. And that's why one anthropologist came up with one thing and one anthropologist came up with another. It would make sense if she had features of both. Both Caucasian, Caucasoid features and what's that? And like African American features, black features. There's a word for it. Asian would be Mongoloid. Black would be Negroid or Negro features. See, they use oid at the end of those in anthropological terms. So you would have Caucasoid, Negroid, or Mongoloid. That's a descriptor of features. It's and I've explained this in another video. It is in no way racist and in no way meant to be racist. It is simply an anthropological descriptor. Could she have had both Caucasian or Caucasoid and black African American or Negroid features? Both. And thus, two anthropologists came up with two different things instead of putting both features together. Possibly. And we need to consider that for identification purposes. We do need to consider that. DNA would be able to better tell us what her admixture is. And that would be very handy, very helpful to the case. We have a text message, 2 cases left. 2. What is Oh no, 3, sorry. Left. Oops. And I did do a video yesterday on the channel with an update in the Kimberly Morrow case. It just said I had 30% batteries, so that will be the end of this video. Which is fine because the video is over anyway. So thank you so very, very much for joining me. Please subscribe to the channel and all 3 of my channels. God bless you, and I will see you Wednesday. Bye, guys.